Where are you? While you're listening to these words right now, you're probably sitting comfortably at your home, or perhaps stuck in someone else's home, wishing rather to be someplace else. But no matter what the case, you probably have a good idea of where you are. If I ask you therefore, where are you? You would give me a confident answer. If pressed a little further, you would say you are in this or that town or this or that country, but you'd still be pretty certain about your whereabouts. And why wouldn't you be? The question where you are, you will say, is trivial at best. After all, you know where you are. You're in the safety of your home, with your friends and family, surrounded by the familiar possessions that belong to you. But where are you, really? For thousands of years, inquisitive human beings have wondered about the same thing. So could there be something more to this seemingly trivial question? What if I suggest that your understanding of where you are is a mere veil, a facade? What if, in truth, your true place in the world is not what you think? In this episode, I'm going to talk about how our collective human understanding of our place in the universe has evolved over generations. You will see how with great confidence our ancestors asserted their place in the universe and how terribly wrong they were. So do you really know where you are? Let's find out. All day I think about it. Then at night I say it. Where did I come from? And what am I supposed to be doing? Rumi. It all began with the skies. Among the many mysteries of the world that has fascinated mankind for generations, the sky has been the foremost. I do not think that there's any sane human being who in his childhood never looked up at those mysterious white dots in the night sky and asked his or her parents what they were. After all, how can they be missed? They hover right over your head every night, carrying a zillion mysteries. Today we tell our kids that these twinkling white dots are stars. But there was a time, long, long ago, when human beings did not know that. Instead of an answer, we had stories and myths and legends about the skies that we used to tell our children. But far from being a place of mere legends and myths, the skies also influence our day-to-day lives in significant ways. If you go out of your house on a typical summer day, for example, you can feel the sun's influence as heat on your skin. You suddenly become aware of its power. So powerful the sun is, in fact, that you can't even look directly at it. Likewise, our ancestors were also aware of sun's mighty influence. They knew that its arrival and departure changed the whole landscape and kindled the whole range of different activities. More importantly, the crops that we grew and ate responded to the sun. So this hot ball of fire, it was realized, nurtured the plants and blessed us with food. But was the sun the only thing of significance in the sky? Far from it. Even the positions of those seemingly unimportant white dots in the night sky helped us predict the changing seasons and therefore the time for harvest. Not a small thing, let me add. Moon, on the other hand, was used as a sort of calendar. Women in those days used the moon's phases to keep track of their menstrual cycles, which by some strange coincidence has similar average length as the lunar cycle, about 29 days. In fact, the word menstrual comes from the word moon itself. Our ancestors, as a consequence, came to believe that what happened up there was important and had a strong influence on their lives, even though they did not fully understand it. If God had any place he called home, it was thought as a result, it had to be the skies. It is no surprise that the sun, the moon, along with the 5 planets visible to the naked eye, were all believed to be gods in different cultures of the world. This is in fact why skies are also referred to as heavens, and the planets, the sun, the moon as heavenly bodies. It is the legacy of this very ancient sanctification of the skies that even to this day, if you ask a little kid where God lives, he will probably point upwards. Part of our early preoccupation with the skies was just due to our insufficient understanding of it. But even as time passed, instead of accepting our ignorance and figuring out what was really going on in the so-called heavens, we substituted the gaps in our understanding by attributing the things which did not make any sense to God's divine play. We came to believe that earth had earthly things going on and heavens had heavenly things going on. And while the heavens must be observed to predict the changing seasons or to interpret God's messages, there was no need to understand how they worked. It was beyond our capability, it was thought, to do so. As a result, we created a kind of pseudo-understanding of our world which persisted for thousands of years. People who were born into these cultural beliefs began to feel that they understood all there was to understand about their place in the universe. In their version of the universe, in fact, there was not much to understand really. The earth was unmoving, placed purposefully at the center of the universe by God Himself, around which all the stars and planets revolved. That was all. Simple and elegant and wrong. But you can't completely blame them. If you ever bothered to look at the sky, you would have noticed that the sun, the moon, along with the rest of the stars, appear as if they're revolving around us. So a belief in an earth-centric universe is very compatible with our common sense. Also, a universe with Earth as its center meant that the entire universe revolved around us in one day. If this was indeed the case, then the universe couldn't be very large, right? Think about it. How can an infinitely large universe revolve around us in one day? So if Earth was in fact the center of the universe, it was concluded that we lived in a limited and finite universe. The edge of this universe was a black sphere full of white dots which you see as the night sky. In this innocent error of thought, we made ourselves oblivious of the grandeur of the skies. This popular view of the world was standard curriculum and persisted for about 14 centuries. It was so widely accepted that at universities across the world, students, professors, and scholars alike learned it as an obvious fact, a very basic truth about our world. If you and I were born in that era, we too would have crammed and believed this apparent fact from our school textbooks, like we usually do. Because of its appeal to common sense, many intellectuals who challenged this idea were either ridiculed, ignored, or even executed. Only by the obstinate adherence to truth of many brilliant minds who dared to challenge the status quo, the true workings of our solar system and the sun's real place in it at last became evident in the 16th and 17th centuries. But even then, it took several decades for this discovery to get absorbed and accepted by the general public. If you pause and think about it, it is a rather strange idea that contrary to what our senses tell us, the sun does not really move. Every morning, we find the sun rising in the east, traveling across the sky, and then setting in the west in the evening. So how come these philosophers are asserting that the sun is not moving? Moreover, how could it be that our entire planet, along with all the people we know and love, is simultaneously rotating and revolving at hundreds of kilometers per second around the sun? People wondered that if our planet is really moving so fast, why don't we just fly off? As strange as it sounded, it was nevertheless an irrefutable fact of our world. The reason the sun and other stars appeared to be moving across the sky, it was realized, was in fact due to the motion of our own planet. But this was only the beginning. The static sun was still believed to be the center of a finite universe, and even this belief was to be dispelled. You don't have to be a scientist to notice that the sun is very different from Earth. It is different from the moon and from all the other planets. Hey, but what about those stars, those little dots in the night sky? Imagine if you were very far away from the sun. Would not the sun also look like a little white dot? Could all those little dots in the night sky also therefore be just like our sun, just very far away? To Giordano Bruno, who was among the first men to entertain this possibility, this idea was ecstatic. Bruno conceived this idea in a dream he had when he was 30, in the year 1578. In his dream, he found himself troubled by the finite view of the world. He felt suffocated by the idea of a limited universe. So in a sudden rebellion, like a bird trying to break free from a cage, he carried himself to the edge of the then known universe, which was believed to be a black sphere full of white dots, and discovered to his astonishment that the edge was merely a veil, a curtain of ignorance. What strange mysteries lied beyond it then? Overwhelmed with fear, he trembled at first by the immensity of the truth that he was about to unveil. Mustering courage and taking no regard for his life, he finally jumped from the edge of the universe. Jumped only to ecstatically discover that he didn't fall. In fact, he couldn't fall. It was as if he had jumped into a bottomless well. This was the profound realm of the infinite. Here, there was no up, no down, no edge, no center. He soared freely towards the infinite and saw what others before him couldn't see from a distance. He saw that the sun was just another star, and the stars were other suns, each accompanied by other earths like our own, where creatures very different from us lived. His was a dream of a universe that goes on forever, a universe that has always existed and will always exist. To Bruno, the revelation of this immensity was like falling in love. An infinite view of creation, with many suns and many earths and many creatures, made Bruno appreciate his God even more. But even though his grand revelation was correct, it was far from complete. Little did he know that the truth was even more mind-boggling. There is yet another thing in the night sky, apart from the planets, the stars, the sun, and the moon. It is visible only from the dark and cloudless regions of our planet, but one look at it is convincing enough that it is far bigger and colossal than all the other heavenly bodies. It is no surprise that depictions of it are present in many ancient myths and cultures. Hindus, for example, referred to it as Akash Ganga, or the great river in the sky. People of Kalahari called it the backbone of the night, as if the sky were some great beast inside which all of us lived. According to Greek myths, however, it was referred as milk spilled in the sky, which resulted in its modern name of the Milky Way. For a long time though, people did not really know what to make of this huge white band in the sky. Even early astronomers were clueless. They just thought that it was some mysterious white region that didn't behave like other visible objects such as stars and planets. With the invention of the telescope, however, we could see that this white band of the Milky Way were stars, an extraordinary number of them. Not long after, it was discovered that Milky Way is a giant star system of which we are a part. But because we did not know whether there was anything lurking beyond the Milky Way galaxy, Milky Way was believed to be the entire universe itself, even until last century. In 1924, Edwin Hubble, an American astronomer, discovered to his astonishment that some faint blobs in the night sky were entire star systems, just like our own. They were so big and so far away that they couldn't be placed in our galaxy. These star systems were other galaxies, huge cosmic islands of stars, far, far away from us. Clearly, it was realized that the universe was not limited to the Milky Way. But that meant that all the stars in the sky that you can see, even the countless stars that Bruno envisioned, were just the stars in our own galaxy. And that is indeed the case. According to recent estimates, there are 400 billion stars in our galaxy alone. That is 4 followed by 11 zeros. If that is too much for you, wait, it gets weirder. In 2004, just 16 years ago, astronomers decided to observe a small patch of the night sky using the Hubble Space Telescope. They were curious as to what they would find in a small insignificant patch of sky. But what it revealed was breathtaking. In that small patch, the size of a grain, the telescope discovered 10,000 galaxies. This is the photo that it took. Every point in this photo is an entire galaxy. If there are so many galaxies visible through a small section of space, how many galaxies are there? Recent observations suggest that there could be around 200 billion of them. Note that this is only the ones that we have managed to estimate according to the capacity of our observations. Who knows how many of them are out there? Also, if there are so many galaxies, each containing billions of stars, how insane are the number of stars in the universe? To give you an idea, there are more stars in the universe than grains of sands on all beaches of the world. More stars than seconds have passed since Earth formed. More stars than words and sounds ever uttered by all human beings who ever lived. Since each star usually has planets around it, imagine how many more are the number of planets and the different kinds of life forms that inhabit them. Our understanding of our place in the universe has evolved radically over the ages. We used to believe that there was one planet and discovered there were many. We used to believe that the sun was unique and discovered that it too had companions. We believed in one galaxy and discovered billions of others. Every step in our quest has moved us away from the center stage of the cosmic theater. Following that chain of thought, some scientists suggest that there could even be more than one universe. There is, they suggest, an infinite hierarchy of universes, so that an elementary particle in our universe, if penetrated, would reveal itself to be an entire universe itself. That universe would also have its own multitude of galaxies and stars and creatures, and particles of that universe, if penetrated, would similarly be other universes, and so on. Forever, an infinite regression, universes within universes, endlessly. If there is any truth to this radical proposition, then that means that as you're listening to this episode right now, there are universes upon universes in every single atom of your body. Imagine that. The thing is, the discovery of the true scale of the universe is a fairly recent finding. There hasn't been enough time for these revelations to get culturally soaked and become a part of our day-to-day perspectives. We still live in a small world of our friends and families and human problems. But beyond and beneath all of that noise, there's something mysterious and profound, something very different and unfamiliar, occurring all the time in all the nooks and crannies of the universe. The fundamental assumption on which our day-to-day lives are based are fragile like a bubble. If we only bother so much as to look, this familiar bubble of our cultural beliefs and familiar attachments will burst without any care, and a strange unknown reality will boldly reveal itself. Go get a microscope, for example, and you will discover an entirely different world of microorganisms. Get a telescope, and again a different world you will find. Go live in a forest for a while, and you will become aware of a very different ecosystem. Even among our own species, if you travel the world, you will discover how differently people live in the many places of the world. In truth, the world that you live in is far stranger than your feeble contemplations of it. And the familiar world of your prejudices, depressions, pride, and desires is not a reflection of the absolute nature of things. In fact, all the human beings, plants, animals, insects, and birds that you know are merely drifting in a cosmic dark in the middle of nowhere. What is this place? Where are you? Throughout our exploration of our place in the universe, we have only discovered to our dismay that no matter how wild our imagination, it only falls short of grasping the immensity and richness of this place we find ourselves in. Giordano Bruno aptly described the universe as natural magic, because while we can explore it, inspired by it, celebrate its diversity, we have to acknowledge at the end of the day that lost somewhere between immensity and eternity, we find ourselves in this vast unknown strangeness. Did God create this mysterious place? Are we the figments of God's dream? Who knows? And who can know it? To sum it all up, here's a little poem I wrote. This world of your friends and foes is not the place it seems. There are more things in heaven and earth than you can dream in your dreams. For what is this strange world, my friend? There are black holes and a zillion stars, afloat amidst the cosmic dark. Do you really think you know where you are?